ladies and gents, welcome to the pink spaghetti that is my factory. Now, over the last few weeks, well actually over the last week, we've had a number of people pop up in the stream and say, don't really understand transfer units, when do I need to use them? And a lot of people talking about creating loops using containers. So I thought I'd do a very quick and dirty guide on how transfer units can help you in your industrial design processes. And for this, I'm going to first explain the layout of this factory so you can understand the general flow of resources. So, over here in this container is where I place all of the ore that I gather. Okay, so everything that's ore comes in here. I don't know why there's landing gear in there, don't ask me. And that ore then gets pushed through to the refiners who carry on doing their job, which then push out the... Okay, that's a bit weird. That should be going to there, but never mind. They push out all of the resources into either that container or apparently that one as well. And then these two containers will hold the pure resources. And they will then go into the smelters and they'll turn them into things like steel, stainless steel, duralumin, things like that. So that's the process flow at the front end of the factory. Once you get from the smelters kicking out into this central hub holds all of the, what I would call the manufactured components. So things like steel, silicon, ALFE alloy, ignore those components, I've just dropped them there for storage. So these elements here, which are kicked out by those smelters. Right, so the layout of the factory, which looks confusing, but let me explain. If we look from south to north now, we have chemical manufacturing there, and then we have electronics. Actually, let me move that into its own line. There we go. So we have chemical manufacturing on this side. 3D printing is there, down the middle. Electronics is there. And then metalworking is all on this side here. Okay, and then I draw a line across here as well through this hub in the middle. Okay, and then what you have behind that line is that electronics and those metalworkers, which make what I call subcomponents, which then go to make components. For example, you might need a screw manufactured in there, which goes to make a basic burner. So everything behind that sort of line that you can draw probably along there is a subcomponent manufacturing, and then everything that falls south of that line, sorry, north of that line, or down below that line here, these metalworkers, that metalworker, and these two electronics, they make the final component itself. Sounds confusing, so I've got an example to explain to you what I mean, and it's this 3D printer is making, or is trying to make, some basic injectors. The basic injectors use polycarbonate plastic and a basic screw. So chemical here is making polycarbonate plastic, and that's pushing that out to this container, which is then feeding the 3D printer. So that's fine, but the screws are a bit of a problem because we're running out of container links. So I could in theory put a container link across there, but it starts to get messy, and this is where I also need screws to feed into the metalwork process, so I have an output from there going into here. So what do? So I'm actually going to go and put an output from the output from there is going into here. That's holding the screws, which is then feeding these frontline processes. So what I want to do is I need to take some screws and I need to put them over onto that 3D printer, and that's where this comes in. I'm going to remove that. Okay, so this is the transfer unit, and what I'm going to do is, this is making screws, or should be. Not currently, but let's say maintain 1,000 screws. There we go. That should be maintaining 1,000 screws, and that's going to put those screws into this container here. Right, so that's fine because that's feeding the rest of the metalwork process here. But I need the screws over there, so basically you make the connection. Now, the transfer units can only output to one container, but they can actually take 6 inputs. So you could have effectively one container taking everything from the metalwork side, and you could push that out to a container on that side of the industrial process, and then you could start to feed up the screws all around this side. So what you do is you make a link between that container and the transfer unit, and then we're going to make a link between that container and that container, which is feeding the 3D printer. Okay, and then all we need to do, and it works pretty much the same way as a standard industrial unit. Tell it to maintain a certain amount. Don't think I need that many over there, so let's say 100. Maintain 100 in that box. That means it will keep the output at 100. If I click that, you can see it starts spinning like crazy. Spin, spin, spin. And what that's doing is feeding this with screws. So you'll see this going up there, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then that's been taken because that 3D printer has now picked those up and started to make these injectors. So what we've done is we've managed to link one industrial process for metalworking, not actually take away any links from a container which is feeding these things, are making basic burners or hydraulics where they need components. So basic pipes are coming from this over here. But we need screws over there. So that's all it is. It's quick and dirty. You can have 7 inputs to a transfer unit, I believe, and then 1 output. So if you needed to take a whole raft of components from metalworking and push them over to here, then you could do that. Equally, there are scenarios where you would need electronic components to be fed into a 3D printer. So again, you could take that same process and say, get my link tool up. This is making uncommon connectors, so you link that to there, and then what you can do is have an output to... It's already got an output. I'm going to delete these. There we go. So you could take an output from there into there, and then you could take an output from there and put it into there, and you could say, okay, I want you to feed basic connectors. Actually, we want uncommon connectors, don't we? Uncommon connectors, and I want you to maintain, it's a low number because I don't have a huge number of resources, so let's say 100 there, okay, and start that. Now it's got missing ingredients because it's not actually making uncommon connectors at the moment, so let's tell it to make 100, probably can't afford that, but there you go. That'll start making those uncommon connectors. That will push into this container, which can then go into here, but also then the transfer unit will push things out, so those uncommon connectors can feed the 3D printer as well. 7 inputs, 1 output. It's important to remember, but you can only feed 1 item at a time. You can't do multiple. So if you want to change, if you've got 7 inputs for there, let's say you've got screws coming in, and you've got basic pipes coming in, and you've got uncommon components and uncommon connectors coming in, you would need to physically go up and change the way that it transfers. But in a nutshell, that is it, ladies and gentlemen. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and don't forget to enter the competition for the Beta Key giveaway, which is running until this Friday, which I believe is the 28th. No, it's the 18th. So Beta Key giveaway competition is running to the 18th. And also don't forget, if you're not playing this amazing game and you would like to subscribe for 3 months, it's $20, 20 US dollars, or whatever the currency is in your locality, and you can use my link in the description below, and that will help me with just a little bit of kickback and a little bit of recognition from NovaQuark as well. One other thing I should point out, which you may or may not have noticed, which is a really nice touch, what's been included now is, just noticed it again, is when you now move your cursor over the connections, it highlights in blue the items that are being connected. It's a tiny change, but makes a big quality of life difference. So there you go, another tip for you. Right, I'm off. Thanks very much. I'll see you in the next one.